What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Gsluke here with a prize picks preview for the golf this weekend, and not just one event to focus on. We've got ourselves the quote-unquote off season, but 3 events to choose from. The QBE Shootout, a team event over in Naples, Florida, that I'll actually be attending in person. Get an idea of the conditions in course there for our props on Saturday and Sunday. But also, we've got the match, which is that matchup between Tiger and Rory and Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth. That'll be on Saturday evening in prime time. And all throughout the weekend, they've got a European Tour event over there in South Africa. Their International Open down there, so plenty of big names in the field. So a lot of options, which typically leads us to a relatively lucrative board. When you have more options, you can be a little bit more picky about the sort of props that we're taking. And like I said, hopefully that can lead us to some results. So what we're going to do here is go tournament by tournament, talking through the board, what to expect from all of the formats, the conditions at the golf course, and then more specifically, 3 of the props, one from each event that I'll be playing. And I usually play a lot more than 1 per event. The rest of them are going to be on the Patreon page, but these 3 are definitely my top props. So definitely my most confident picks of the bunch. So let's start with the PGA Tour event where we have the QBE Shootout. This is a team event, so their only sort of props that they have up are going to be for birdie or better matchups, where it's a set of 2 players going against another set of 2 players. And this is going to be in a scramble format, which, if you're not familiar, is when each player is able to hit a shot from each location. So both players will hit a tee shot, they'll take whichever shot is better, so on and so forth until they get into the hole. It's pretty much like they have a mulligan every single time around, and as you'd expect, they take the golf course extremely low. In fact, last year there were rounds of 56, 57, which is outrageous for this sort of format. So you're going to see a ton of birdies, and these matchups, of course, are, which group you think is going to make more birdies. If the one picture is the one you're taking, you're going to take the over on these matchups, which is why I have my eye on Nelly Korda and Denny McCarthy versus Lexi Thompson and Maverick McNealy. There's a woman in both the groups, so that's obviously the most notable part about this matchup. But really, if you break it down as a one-on-one and a one-on-one, the reason why we're taking the over here is going to be evident. So first off, Nelly Korda versus Lexi Thompson. Nelly Korda, one of, if not the best women's player in all of the world. She's been on a dominant streak, won multiple majors last year, had a little bit of a health scare 3 or 4 months ago, but has returned and has since won since her return to the PGA Tour. So didn't take her long to get her footing back, and now is featured among the men out here. And if I had to guess, a player of her sort of caliber has a lot to prove this week. So I'm gonna have my eye on her. I think she's gonna play a lot better than people are gonna give her credit for, and really solidify the LPGA Tour, especially the quality of player over there. So I have my eye on that, but when you compare her to a Lexi Thompson, it's really no contest. Nelly Korda still contending in majors, is, in the argument, is typically there at number 1 in the world when it comes to the women's rankings, whereas Lexi Thompson, more of a bigger name, a little bit more of a publicity behind her because she's been around for a while, isn't quite that player anymore, right? Hasn't been winning nearly as much as a Korda, some of the other women out there that have won multiple times, major championships last year. So Korda's clearly the better player on that side. And then with McCarthy versus McNealy, McCarthy, not only the higher ranked player in the official World Golf Rankings, but also a player that's a better putter than McNealy. I mean, he's the best putter in the world. McNealy is one of the best putters in the world. And McCarthy's ball striking is also a lot more consistent than what we've seen from McNealy. So in both circumstances, this team has what I would say the superior player, and the outright odds also reflect that, where Korda and McCarthy are the second to last group, right, in terms of their odds, but the last group is Thompson and McNealy. So all of that is pointing me towards the over, and a prop I feel pretty solid about. Next up, we're going to go over to the Tiger and Rory, the match, which is going to be insanely entertaining. First off, I have to say, JT and Spieth are my top 2 favorite players in the world, so you can probably guess what side I'm going to be on here. But Tiger and Rory are like number 3 and 4. Actually, I'm not a huge fan of Rory anymore. He used to be one of my favorite players. But obviously, got to have a ton of respect for the GOAT, the big cat out there. But when it comes to betting, I'm going to be betting against the big cat. He has plantar fasciitis, which is a lower foot injury, makes walking extremely difficult, which is why, the fact that they're in a cart is going to be beneficial to him. But it also means that he hasn't practiced as often. He's not going to be nearly as sharp as some of the other players that I'm sure are still working with their coaches, staying relatively sharp on top of their games. And they're going to be out there trying to win just as much as he is. So I'm going to take the side that's healthy. Also, Jordan Spieth and JT are an extremely familiar combination. They play in the President's Cup, the Ryder Cup together. They've done so for multiple events at this point and had a ton of success. In fact, I believe they've only lost once, if not 0 times. I think might have been a tie the time they didn't go out there and end up winning. They have an impeccable track record together. So I think they gel well. They know how to play each other's game. They know how to play to each other's strengths to go out there and maximize their results. And going against a Tiger Woods who's really there out there on one leg, I think is, and the implied odds also reflect that too. So if you look at the outright odds, Jordan Spieth and JT are right around -125, sometimes -130 at a few sports books out there in terms of their implied odds, which makes this a plus EV bet. And then, another reason to hop on the JT and Jordan side. Lastly, we're going to go to the European Tour. So this is starting earlier. So the match is on Saturday, so Saturday evening. The PGA Tour doesn't start until Friday this week, which is, of course, atypical. They're just doing 3 events. One's a scramble, one's, I believe, a best ball, and then one more scramble to end the week over there. The European Tour is starting today. In fact, there's tee times at 11:50 p.m. You have a few that are right there at midnight. The latter half of tee times are going to be going off right around like 4 or 5 a.m. So this is the one that's going to be locking first. So make sure you're getting in your European Tour picks, ASAP, right, to try and take advantage of those lines. But the main prop I want to, touch on here is going to be Christian Bezain over 4 birdies. And like I said, I'm not going over every single prop I'm playing here. A lot of them are just going to be on the Patreon, but there are 6 overs for birdies I'm taking that are all going to be in the quote-unquote AM wave, right? So for us, right around midnight is going to be the morning over there in South Africa, and weather is going to be a huge part of the picture here. When we're looking at birdie or better matchups, the matchup between Tiger and Rory and JT and Spieth, weather is not a factor because it's 2 sets of players playing in the same conditions against each other, right? Whereas when we're taking a look at an entire tournament, a full field event, like what we have on the European Tour side, this is just regular stroke play, right? No scrambles over here, no match play, that sort of thing like you're going to see for the other matches. You really want to consider weather, and particularly when tomorrow in the morning, it's going to be perfect conditions, sub 5-mile-an-hour winds, between 70 and 80 degrees, a little bit of cloud cover. And in the afternoon, you have a 50% plus chance of thunderstorms, 15 to 25-mile-an-hour winds. And when I looked at the scoring from last time out, which they didn't have this tournament last year, it happened 2 years ago at the Alfred Dunhill Championship, not the Links Championship. That's the version of, like, I guess the company that sponsors this event has another version of it in St. Andrews, but they also just have the championship. So the same name, just without the links part of it, which was last played 2 years ago at the same golf course. And Bezain, who ended up winning. So that's a reason to get to him. He's teeing off in the AM wave with perfect conditions, and last time out had a top 3 finish his last time on the European Tour. So coming in with the sort of momentum we're hoping for, a solid putter, and is your implied winner this week, right? He's 9-1, the best odds of anybody you can get in the field. It is priced at 4 birdies, whereas you have guys at 4.5 birdies that you might have a little bit more aggression to them, might have a higher birdie percentage, but our tournament favorite, right, is down here at the bottom of the board. That just doesn't make sense to me, particularly when he's in the AM wave. But the rest of the props I'm taking, which I'm not going to go over here, are in the AM wave. Every single one of them. It's going to be a huge advantage. And in fact, if I was going to try and find fades, which I'm not playing for this slate, I'd be looking at the guys playing in the PM wave, which are these guys at like 5 a.m., right? Like you can see like 4:50, 5 a.m. and 4.5 birdies. It's not impossible to surpass that, but if anybody has shaky form coming in, might be a ripe sort of play for a fade. Down here at 4, I'm a little bit less likely to fade players just because there are 4 par 5s on property, a drivable par 4 too. So I think getting to 4 birdies is more than reasonable. But for the overs I'm taking, right, I want to make sure I'm getting the prime conditions, right? I don't want these guys at 4.5 birdies that are battling thunderstorms, winds in the afternoon, that sort of thing. You might have to wake up early on Friday to finish the round. That's just something that I'm looking to avoid. So that is all I've got here for the preview. Gonna cut it short, right? Typically, I'm a little bit more in depth about the courses, but it's a DP World Tour course, which I'm not all that familiar with. I've only seen it a few times on TV before. Then we got these two other match play events, or just special field scrambles going on that kind of threw things out of whack. So of course, if you're looking for all of my thoughts, a write-up on every prop I'm taking, that is going to be on the Patreon page. A link is in the description of the video to that. But until next time, guys, best of luck with all of your slips. I'm playing this as a 3-leg power. I have plenty of other cards in. I have a few 5-leg. I even have a 6-leg card in for the slate over the next 2 to 3 days. And the one thing I'll say, it's a little bit disappointing that they're not all ending at the same time. But at the same time, we're also getting more choice, right? A lot more value out there as a result of having all 3 events at the same time. So there's pros and cons to it. If you only want to play the European Tour stuff, maybe just stick to 2-leg powers. That sort of thing. When you mix in the matchups, the great thing is, I'll show you guys here what I'm talking about. If you were to take like 4 birdie marks of the same card, you're going to get a slightly lowered payout, right? Instead of a 10x power play, you're getting 7x. For flex, you actually get paid a little bit more for a 4-leg, but if you only get 3 right, you actually get less payment. So the payout structure gets thrown out of whack. The way to fix that is just to add a matchup, right? So if we went over here, we took the under on Tiger Woods, it goes back to your typical payout structure for a 5-leg flex. To show you just for a 4-leg, it's your typical 4-leg structure, right? 10x, 5x and 1.5x once again, and so on and so forth down the ladder. And it doesn't have to be this Tiger Rory one. It could also be the one of the matchups for the QBE Shootout too. So if you wanted to go in that direction, it resets you to the normal payout structure. That's just something to keep in mind when you're making your cards. But like I said, best of luck. Until next time, make sure you hit that like button before hopping on out of here. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so you don't miss any of the content in the future. And let's get this cash, fellas.